You're listening to the Millennial Minute Podcast, giving this generation what they want to hear.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Rod. You are now listening to another brand spanking new episode of the Millennial Minute. So let's go around real quick. Let's introduce everybody before we get into this podcast. We are a little bit shorthanded today, but you know what they say, the less the merrier. That is my new saying. So we got our boy in Cali. Shout out to Speaks with the gold and black do-rag supporting the Lakers. And if you're watching,
baby, let's go. Get me a dub. I just want one.
That's all we need is one. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see my background, the GOAT, Kobe. That's who we're channeling today for Game 6. We need that.
Yes.
We need that. And we got our boy all the way in Arizona. Shout out to the boy Lee. How's it hanging?
Lakers won.
Hey, I need more.
Lakers
I need
won.
more.
Give us some more energy.
Right? I need some energy. Bang energy. All right.
Hey, I'll say a prayer. Let's all hold our hands together on the table and say a prayer for the Lakers.
Okay. All right. I'll take that.
God, please let the Lakers annihilate Miami Heat into this game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, I promise Brian Golar will donate all his money to charity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know who Brian Golar is, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Amen. That's a beautiful prayer. 6 pound, 4 ounce baby Jesus, please help the Lakers today.
Little baby blocks, please spell out win.
We're 1 win away. It's so close, but we can't talk about the Lakers all day. Unfortunately, we got to get paid, y'all. And we got to give a huge shout out to our boys over at Productive Culture. If you're looking for production, mixing, sound design, looking to start your own podcast, Productive Culture is where you need to go. They've hooked us up and they've helped us take our podcast to a whole nother level. Even when we're in this COVID pandemic, they're still finding ways to level us up and, take us above the competition. So y'all got to get on that. If you've been thinking about starting your rap career or just a podcast, stop thinking about it and it's time to just do it. You can hit up Productive Culture at productiveculture.com/podcast. And you can also find them on Instagram at Productive Culture. Let them know the Millennial Minute boys and girl sent you, and you will get hooked up, man.
That's beautiful.
Hit them up. Hit them up. And we also got to give a big shout out to Black-owned businesses. Shout out to 3-Bit Games. For those who are into video games, comic books, 3-Bit Games is the spot you need to hit up immediately. They buy, sell, and trade all games, consoles, Funko Pops, comics, figures, and trading cards. It's a one-stop shop for all your gaming and collecting needs. They are ready for business, and you can find them at 1600 East Hole Avenue, Space K24 in Pomona, California. And don't forget to wear your mask, people. We are still in a pandemic. Wear your damn masks. And you can find them on Instagram at 3-Bit Games. That's the number 3-Bit Games.
Yes.
So support Black-owned businesses. And we also have a very, very special shout out today. We're going to be promoting a movie that's going to be coming out.
Hey.
So y'all got to get ready for the most outrageous, and I mean outrageous, coming of age love story about growing up and also blowing up. Catherine Langford and Charlie Plummer star in the explosive, air quotes, explosive comedy Spontaneous. It's available on digital and on demand now. Y'all got to go and watch that. So go look up Spontaneous movie with Catherine Langford and let them know the Millennial Minute sent you. Put a review on there. And we also got something special for these listeners right now. If you're listening to this in your car, in your headphones, we have a new promo. If you are following us, number one, if you go on Instagram and you follow Map Collective 360, which I'm going to give you the Instagram right now, it's going to be map360.co. Map, the numbers 360.co on Instagram. You shoot them a follow and you screenshot it, send us a DM. We're going to be giving away 5 codes to the movie for free.
Hey!
For free.
Hey,
So make sure you're following us, the Millennial Minute on IG, Millennial Minute
of course.
Podcast, Millennial Min Podcast on IG. You go and you follow Map360 Co. Send us that screenshot via DMs, and you can receive a copy to this movie.
Hey,
So the first 5 who do that are going to receive a copy.
so wait, you're
Nice.
telling me that if we go ahead, follow Millennial Men Podcast and
Yes.
Map360
Yes.
and show a screenshot,
Yes.
I get a movie,
Yes. A free movie.
a free movie.
Yes, that you can download
That's
from the
insane.
safety of your home.
Oh, you mean I don't have to go out?
You
Like
don't have to go out.
Oh shit!
It's a beautiful,
a free movie in a movie theater?
a free movie in your home movie theater.
Hey,
So no tickets involved, safety of your own house. You get to digitally download the movie. We have 5 codes to give out to our listeners.
hey,
Do not sleep on this.
I
Do
will
not sleep on this. First 5 to DM us, we'll get these codes.
Hey, get these codes.
Get these codes ASAP. Hashtag get these codes. Hashtag spontaneous movie.
Yes, join the movie.
Yes, yes. So now let's get into the topic for today, y'all.
Ooh,
We're going to be talking about toxicity. We're going to be
Toxicity.
talking about toxicity, some toxic traits that we all have. And one thing that really inspired me to talk about this was I don't know if anyone's been watching the news recently with Cardi B and Offset buying Cardi B a new car when they're supposed to be maybe going through a divorce or not. And a lot of people have been saying that's toxic behavior because he's buying her gifts, but he's not really correcting the mistakes that he's making. So
I got
yeah,
a
Lee.
question. Are we talking about identifying toxic traits in other people or identifying toxic traits within ourselves?
That's
You
what
can
I
do
was
both.
just about to get to. Great question. So we're going to be talking about identifying toxic traits within ourselves because I think that we can all talk about ourselves. I don't want to put anybody on blast to like talk about other people or have listeners think that we're talking about anybody directly. So we're just going to talk about ourselves, talk about when we don't need to be specific, but we can just talk about how we've identified toxic traits or even if you do and you don't want to name drop, identified it with other people and kind of like maneuvered that.
I like blaming each other and shit.
Yeah, in a sense. So, you know what, maybe both will work out, but I think it's good to start with ourselves. Be self-reflective first. And also, how do we fix those toxic traits once we've identified them? So I think that's important to talk about. So
Okay.
Speaks, take us into the minute today since T is not here. This is a masculine pod. Chibs is
Oh, you're
not.
gonna sound for when you do it too.
Say it again?
Right, guys. So,
No, you gotta do the voice.
oh, you're right.
Voice.
Hey guys, I'm like, we have 1 minute.
Alif, you got
Okay.
Chibs' spot.
Okay, guys. So, guys, we're gonna have 1 minute to express our toxic trait just to start off, and then we can go into more. Okay. So for this one, we're gonna go ahead. Each one is gonna have 20 seconds. 20 seconds to discuss their toxic trait and how they may have identified that. We're gonna go with Alif, and then we're gonna go with our host Rob, and then we're gonna go with me.
All right.
Beats. That's it. Ready?
Let's see.
Go.
Okay, so I think maybe one toxic trait that people struggle with within themselves is getting outside the comfort zone when they need to.
Okay. You want to expand on that, or?
No, we're going to
All right.
I think a toxic trait could be like not listening to others, like when they're expressing their feelings or like making a mockery or trying to joke about it. I think that could be one toxic trait.
Okay. All right. For me, toxic trait is I don't have any. No, I'm just kidding. Probably starting something, not finishing. That's probably
I got one. Gaslighting.
gaslighting.
Gaslighting is one toxic trait. Okay.
Gaslighting, I think adults do that a lot without realizing it.
Okay. And 2, 1. That's it. Somebody want to hit that?
Alif, hit the Chibs.
Hey.
Hey.
Good job.
Okay, so let's start off with the definition. For those who are listening that do not know what a toxic trait is, you're just listening to this podcast for the first time thinking, what are these guys talking about? A toxic trait is capable of causing serious harm to a person's health or well-being. So there are certain behaviors that do nothing but can drag you down, hold you back, and cause you to suffer. So it doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't need to be something physical to be considered a toxic trait. All right. Now, Alif, we can start with him. He mentioned doxing. He mentioned doxing as a big one. So get into a little bit of that. How do we do that without really understanding that we're doing it? Give us a couple examples. Or
Wait, did you say doxing?
or isn't that, or what did you say? Gaslighting. Sorry.
Oh, wait, am I going with gaslighting first or?
No, go with gaslighting first.
Just explain.
Okay, so gaslighting is defined as, and hold on, I got the definition right here.
Hey.
It's defined as is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person or a group covertly sows seeds of doubt in a targeted individual or group, making them question their own memory, perception, or judgment, often evoking in them cognitive dissonance and other changes, including low self-esteem.
Okay, so how does well, yeah, because I mean, I think we all kind of know it, but how does that like tie back into this toxic culture? Do you have any experiences in that? Have you partaken in that without even knowing it? Have you like been a victim of it? Let us know.
Yeah, actually, I think if I'm just being real, like I think I've been a victim of it, but also perpetrated it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think as I've grown older, like I've realized ways that I perpetrate it.
Mm-hmm.
But
what came to that realization? Let's start off with the realization that you were the one maybe gaslighting a significant other or a person.
I think I perpetrated it as a result of me trying to like kind of control narrative, of a situation, or trying to come up on top. I think like my entire childhood, I think like maybe Rod, it's not. You probably know about this, like getting bullied. Like I'm pretty sure I kind of went through that.
I was a part of it.
Yeah, come on, I grew up in post 9/11, right?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. Like, let's just be real about it.
Yeah, and then as a result of that, like as a young adult, I'm kind of still I am a young adult, but like fresh, like earlier in college, I had this like need to like one up everyone and be on top. So in terms of that, like I in turn gave into gaslighting by making other people doubt themselves, because that shit was like something that was done to me.
Got it. Okay.
I kind of realized that, and that's something I'm trying to get away from.
Okay, so it's more just you understanding this pattern of like this past trauma that had happened to you. Therefore, you're inflicting pain on others because of what you experienced. So, but it's good that you at least identified it to say, "Hey, what I'm doing here is like not okay."
Yeah, like I look back like shit, man. Like, I shouldn't have done that, man.
No, for sure.
I think a lot of that also just comes with age, just being able to recognize that. And you probably, like when you were younger, you probably just, wanted to be the funny guy, wanted to be the one that was just like, oh, haha. But like, there is a certain line that like a person can cross, and it's very important to be cognizant of that for sure.
It's usually in the realms of like making fun of my friends and making fun of people, like just, like roasting culture.
Yeah.
That. But, yeah. So, just like becoming more aware of that, and like now I'm just trying to be more empathetic in my approach.
Yeah. So my question, and I'll go off with Speaks first. So, because there's a lot of people who do take part in this gaslighting culture and are, mentally abusive to, maybe their significant other, friends, family, etc. What do you think? Like for you, not everybody is as self-aware as like the next person, right? So like you may be able to catch it, or may have it done to you where you're like, okay,
you said earlier,
pattern, and I've done this before, but for someone who hasn't, or for someone who's still like in in that cycle of doing it that hasn't recognized it? Like, what are the steps that they need to take to like better themselves, or is it just an ending cycle?
That's what you said earlier at the very beginning of the pod. Listening to other people.
Mm.
Yeah, but what about someone stubborn speaks? Like, what do you do at that point? If you had a homie, do you just like let him figure it out, or
it's a really big mixture. I think, especially, I can use our group dynamic. For me, I guess I'll talk about because I did have a time where I was definitely a gaslighting individual for sure. I've had my moments, and I'm not too proud of them, and even to this day they still haunt me.
yeah.
But you guys kind of sat me down and were like, hey, look, this is what's been going on. And like, you can feel this tension. So like, it's a mixture of like, for one, are you surrounding yourself with the correct people? Because like people that actually genuinely care about you, genuinely like want you there and want you to be there, they want you to be a better version of yourself and the best version of yourself. So they will, if they're recognizing things, it's easy for especially like people like in our culture nowadays to kind of just like write them off, like okay, I'm not going to deal with this anymore, I'm not going to invest energy. But surrounding yourself with people that genuinely like have your back, you've been through all types of ups and downs with them, that gaslighting, that toxic trait, you'll be made self-aware of it, because you're not it's a mixture of people telling you and a mixture of you not wanting to hurt the people that are like closest to you.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because that is one big thing that does get overlooked a lot. Like your group of friends, if they're not holding you accountable to these things, or if they're not calling you out on the BS that you're on, like you'll continue that pattern and continue to live your life in a way that's like not good and toxic to other people. And I know that mental health right now is like a big thing for millennials and Gen Zers, and like we love to protect our space and protect our mental space. So I like that you brought in the homies. And then one thing I kind of wanted to piggyback off that, like, do you think, because you had said that starting and not finishing things was another form of like a toxic trait, maybe for you personally, or that you see. Do you think that personal motivation is something that needs to overcome that, or do you think that a group of friends is something that can also assist with?
I think it is definitely a group of friends. Not like that's not the only thing. I'd say like if I had to give like a percentage of what that is, that's probably 20%. 20% is like friends, like keeping the people around you that are willing to support you, willing to give you feedback, willing to, not call you stupid, not shoot down your ideas, but build and like, okay, maybe you can do this, maybe you can do this, and throw it at them. And then there is that, like, I'd say 50% is the motivation for you to kind of want to like do it in your own self-drive. And then that 30% is your own inner demons, is like
self-doubt.
Yeah, that self-doubt, that self like just, oh, I don't want to do this, or like I don't think that this is as good, or there's like overanalyzation leads to complacency. So thinking of stuff, thinking too much instead of just going out and doing. So one of the YouTubers that I just watched this video probably like not yesterday but the day before, David So, and he talked about how he hasn't been as active on his YouTube channel, on his like social medias and stuff like that. And he said I've been doing other projects and I've been, putting my energy here, and I'm the type of person that I want to always give my 100% and yada, 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 whatever type of frame box that you want to see, like put it in. Like, I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. And he was like, there's not enough just doing and just willingness to just fail, or like just do it, learning by doing. So he's trying to make an effort on his channel to just post whatever he feels like. If he likes it, it's going up regardless of whether it's what viewers want to see. And I think there's a lot of power in that, and I think more people kind of get behind that.
Yeah, because you're mentally, you can stop yourself from doing a lot of things. It is true what they say, like your brain is the strongest muscle in the body. Like it'll either push you to do amazing things or it'll stop you from doing great things.
Yep.
So I definitely agree with that. And I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. Like it's easy for me to overthink things when talking about a business, to talking about a decision. Like I'll just overthink it and be like, well, I don't know if I should do this right now. Maybe I should wait. Should I? And maybe I'll get with a group of friends that will motivate me, or they'll tell me about their projects that they're working on. They'll tell me about the adversity that they're facing, and that just kind of gets me riled up. It's like throwing wood into a fire where it's kind of dying, and let it go back up. Exactly.
I kind of feel like not to change the subject, but I kind of feel like that leads into this idea of like what I said earlier, getting outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that alludes to, like, when I say that, I'm thinking about like, what do I want, right? And what do I need to do to get? And sometimes what do I need to do to get there is not always going to be appealing.
Yeah, that's true for sure. Definitely true. I can agree with that.
Yeah. So what do you guys like find that balance in terms of really balancing your mental to get to where you want to go, but also not sacrificing yourself and also sacrificing others, because we all have lives maybe outside of the goals that we would like for ourselves, or maybe some of those goals are meant to give the people that we love and care about better lives. Right. So if you're starting a business and you want to make money, like maybe the end motivation isn't just money, but to like take care of your family and maybe to like get married to your current girlfriend, something like that. But you having to be in that business may take away time and energy from your family and that girlfriend. Like, where do you guys think that balance is? Where it's like not neglecting the people you love to get to where you want to go and like staying on that right track.
Leaf, you want to take this, and then I can take. And I'll give my perspective. You sure?
Yeah.
I think that in talking to, not talking to, but just kind of like, I guess I'll use music as an example. I've noticed that a lot of the rappers, a lot of the people that have been really, really heavy into music, always, as soon as they become a lot bigger or they see themselves going in that direction that they want to get, they start realizing man, I realize I haven't talked to my mom in so long. I realize I haven't this. I realize that I haven't kept in contact with so-and-so anymore, and they get mad at me. And I think that in the process of building what it is that you need to be built, like what you feel as though is best for you, you need to kind of be around people that have the maturity to recognize what you're doing. Like, it's not personal, it's not with you, and you need to be okay with that. Like maybe sometimes I'm not going to be able to be around as much as I would like to, but I'm doing this so that way I can put myself in a better position. And that's one of the things that I have an issue with too, is that I feel as though I have a hard time putting myself first. I'm getting better with it, especially now that I'm getting older, and not having certain restraints on me anymore is allowing me to spread my wings and actually like get a little bit better. Like I have the necessary equipment now that I feel like I can actually genuinely do certain things that I want to do and not be hindered. I'm in a space that like I'm comfortable with. There's just a lot more like just being able to just get past your inner demons and just go and be okay with like, it's not necessarily okay with like not talking with certain, like with people that are close to you, but being able to limit that time so that way you can put yourself first.
Okay.
I have a question for Speaks though.
Yeah.
So how do you balance out, right, pursuing your goals and all that stuff that you're trying to do, right, with what if you have responsibilities, especially what if you have responsibilities, especially to other people?
Define responsibility.
Like you got people you got to take care of, like that depend on you. Like you got kids or you got like parents that depend on you, something like that.
Well,
you can't just be like, I'm sorry, son, like you can stay at the house, I gotta go work on me.
Well, it's not a matter of that. kids are a little bit of a unique situation because, I mean, I think that you do end up doing that in a way though, because I mean, I can look at kind of my upbringing, and parents are working constantly for their kids. And if you're working and you're making enough money, sometimes time is just not really there as much, you know? So you have to.
Is that the way to go about it?
I don't know if it's necessarily the way to go about it, but I think there's no real, like, unfortunately, in the society that we're currently in, there's no real way around that. It really isn't. It's a matter of time management and sticking to certain, I guess, a schedule. I guess making a schedule and sticking to it. So you know what? If you have your off days, make sure that you set around time for, you know what, your kids, and do all that. And it's not like you have to spend every single day with the kid. Like, it's not realistic. I'm being serious. Like, I'm just, as I'm bringing it, like, I'm talking.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not a parent. I can't speak on that.
I'm only talking about, like, like my parents and stuff like that. Like, I've seen, and I think I turned out okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Said, fuck them kids.
Yeah. You turn out just all right.
It's not fucking kids. It's you're working for your kids.
Yeah, I think I like that you said time management. I think time management is a huge thing, especially when you're dealing with kids. I don't think that any goal is unattainable once you have kids, but I do think that it gets a lot tougher.
Oh, 100%.
I think that you see that a lot with parents who go back to try and get their masters or their doctorates while having kids. A lot of the times they may need to put that off to provide for their kids. And they wait until, maybe the kid has graduated college or is in college to really take that next step. And do those things, because being a parent is a huge sacrifice. But going back into toxic traits and kind of like coming back. One of the toxic traits that I talked about was listening to others' emotions.
Yes.
And I think that this is extremely relevant and prevalent because we kind of live in this new society where everyone's feelings are kind of out there at all times, 24/7. You open Twitter, people are always telling you how you feel, and I think that that's a great thing, that we live in a society where people feel more open to express how they feel about certain subjects, and different various topics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing that I've noticed, just for me personally, is that it's easy for me to like write off emotions if I don't understand them, or if I don't think that they're really A, valid, or B, important. So if you guys were to tell me like, hey, what you did or what you said was like kind of mean, a lot of the time we'll be like, all right, whatever, bro. Like, just get over it. What do you want me to do? I already said it, And granted, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's right, but it's something that like lately I've been trying to be more cognizant of, and like noticing when like that thing clicks in my brain, like, this is BS, like really kind of like murder that sound to be like, no, like don't think this way because this person's telling you how they feel.
Like you're like, I'm trying so hard to tell everyone, dude, stop being a little bitch.
I'm trying to no, not like that, but just sometimes maybe your girl comes to you with a complaint that you're just kind of like, but like this isn't valid. Like, why are you why are you pressing me about this? But for them, it's like something that's valid. So one thing that I really found is true is, so like, even if you hear other people, even if in the back of your head you don't believe that person's thought to be valid or right or correct, whatever, as long as you hear them out, you take in that information, you tell them that you listen to it, and even if you have a counter argument to what they're saying, they're going to be more receptive to like what you have to say or the reasons why you did something, and it's easier to find like a middle ground. Because if you completely reject what they think, then they'll completely reject what you think, and then you'll both feel like you didn't get heard out. And that's kind of where I was, and doing that. But have you guys ever experienced that with a significant other or a friend where you've like told them something and they just either don't listen or disregard it? Or have you guys done that to your friends and your significant others?
Oh, I haven't experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
Which one did you experience?
Like being brushed off.
Oh, would you like to explain for the people?
Like, just like talking about personal experiences. with like sometimes like with family members or like friends or like this, especially with men, man. Especially with guys.
And do you bring it up? Like, do you talk about it to say, hey, bro, like, I feel like you kind of shrugged off what I said to you, or do you just let it go?
Well, I kind of just let it go because usually it's uh, like it's like in the forum, like the space that I say it, it's like it's not face to face, it's like over text or it's like over the phone or something like that. So it's like to me, it's like okay, well, I'm not right next to that person, so maybe they're just not seeing saying it because they're not seeing me right now.
Okay.
Whatever that's why.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's amongst usually men that experience like that's basically just gaslighting there. You know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I wouldn't stereotype to say it's, or maybe mostly men that do it or not, because I think both sides, men or women, can do it. And I think that, it's a case by case basis, but Speaks, have you ever experienced it or been guilty of maybe not hearing people out or
Both.
dismissing them?
Both. I'll say I'll stick to one just for sake of time, but definitely, and this is a constant battle that I am currently going through, is listening to what other people are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether or not you meant to say something, or because the way I put it is like, or the way my dad kind of broke it down to me, and it's made complete sense. It was, do you want to be right more so than you want to be happy?
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, what the hell does that even mean?
I want to be right.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell does that even mean? But
right.
but in just quick little like just quick way of saying it, is it really so important what your point is? Like, is it really like as important, or are you just like not listening to the other side? Are you more so wanting to be right rather than listening?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
like,
facts.
yeah, like, like listen, and like you said, find the middle ground,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're choosing to be in the relationship with that person, you're never going to 100% agree on every single little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's big things that you're going to need to agree on, and if the big things are there, depending on like how small they actually are, depending on what it actually is, if they're not disrespecting you, if they're not coming for your manhood or anything like that, or womanhood, or physically harming you, mentally harming you, or anything like that, and it's just like, something that really just doesn't have a big say,
Mm-hmm.
is it really that important for you to argue with it, or just kind of like let it go?
Yeah.
Because like I want to be happy.
Yeah.
Is it? Are you speaking in terms of like relationships, or is it
I'm
like?
talking more in relationship for sure.
Yeah, and but that can also work for friends too.
It
Just like
doesn't. Yeah, exactly. It
not
doesn't have to
exclusive.
just be a relationship. It can be with your friends too. Because like, there's gonna
Okay.
be times where you guys get into there's times where we get into arguments sometimes, and you're just like, I'm not gonna put my energy into this, dude. It's not really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. At the end of the day. Like,
Exactly.
there's other things going on. Like, I don't give a damn.
Exactly.
Like I care about you, and that's never going to change. And you just kind of let certain things go, because it's not like that person's not going to come for disrespecting you or anything like that. Like, maybe you're just getting butthurt. Maybe you just see something a certain way and you're not willing to let it go, which is fine. But the only person that's going to suffer from that is you.
Exactly. Exactly. So, just as we're wrapping this up right now, and we can go to a Leaf Speaks, and then I'll end it. So, what about, we have some listeners that may say, I don't know if I have any toxic traits. Or let's say they know they have toxic traits. What are 3 things you're telling them on how to fix them? Go. Just 3 things.
Okay.
I think first is to accept it.
Yeah.
Like, first step is accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then figure out a way to work on it,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding it's not like something like these are all learned habits that probably toxic traits probably like for the most part learn habits over the course of your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So take that into consideration, because it's not going to take a week or 2 weeks or even like 2 months to like, kind of reverse that. It's going to take some time and like consistency, constantly working.
Yeah. Okay. Speaks for you, because I know Alif just kind of touched on 3 very broad points.
Yeah.
So for you, maybe if you have an idea, like, would you suggest someone to kind of fix this themselves? Would you suggest like therapy? Like,
So accept it, like Elise said, identify, strategize. So accept it, know that it's there, like understand that there's an issue, identify that issue, strategize. So that means going to therapy, that means holding yourself accountable, that means making a consistent effort. Like you have to keep doing something before it becomes second nature. So if you want to fix something, keep constantly taking the steps to not do that thing anymore.
yeah.
And the more consistent that you be, the less effort it's going, like the less difficult it's going to be to commit that toxic act.
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Exactly. I like those. I like those. Kind of to piggyback off them, I do think that it's important to identify right off the bat what your toxic trait is. And you can get that just from either yourself noticing these toxic traits, and other people, I'm pretty sure, won't hesitate to tell you, depending on how toxic they are. And I also think that there's levels to toxicity. I think that there are some traits that you can fix simply by meditating and by talking to friends and kind of just talking to yourself and throughout the course of the day to figure these things out. And I think that there are others that, may be tied to a personal trauma that you may need to seek professional help for, which is not a bad thing. For any
It's not
listeners, like,
bad.
it's a good thing. And now we're in the age of tech, social media, where these things can be done over your phone. Like, it doesn't even need to be a sit down thing. And I think also finding people or finding friends who are very honest and transparent with you, I think is key.
Yep.
And I think because they're always going to lead you on the right path, kind of to jump on, since we're talking about the Lakers earlier, kind of jump on basketball. Like, one thing coaches always told Speaks and I was like, if we're not on you and we're not telling you things that you're messing up on, it's like because we don't care.
Yep.
So
100%.
just know that if your friends are telling you something, or your significant other, family is telling you, hey, you're kind of messing up right now, like these things that you're doing aren't right, they're not okay, they're affecting me, spiritually, emotionally, physically, etc., they're telling you that because they love you. If they didn't, they would probably just ignore you and just kick you out of their lives completely.
And also, you got to make sure that if you care about that person enough, then you'll change.
Drop that wall and drop the ego. For me, that's number 3. Because it's easy for us to not want to accept that toxic trait, or to be like, oh, I don't have it. But it's different because of this. But I'm not doing this. And we try and convince ourselves that it's different. Drop the ego and just drop that wall.
Yep.
Drop that, that guard that you have in front of you, and just accept
Drop
it.
that in front of them.
I was about to I wasn't going to say it, but it's already been said. So, yeah.
Yes. So thank you guys again for listening to another episode of the Millennial Minute Podcast. If you have any toxic traits, DM us. What are they? How have you fixed them? If you have anything different from what we said in the podcast today, shoot us a DM and we can share it on our IG. And just remember to hit us up on our Patreon. Thank you guys again for listening. Lakers in 6. Go Lakers. We're about 15 minutes away from the game.
Let's go, baby.
Woo!